Hello, welcome to our fourth live session Therapist Couch. And during these live sessions, we discuss important human-related, human life topics, and we do it with the help of psychotherapists. So today we're going to be unfolding the concept of psychosomatics, and Ulvia, who is a co-founder, one of the co-founders of Tokitus, is going to help us to unfold this concept, which I was unfamiliar with and still feel that I have really many questions about it, but I'm really interested in finding out how our bodies tell us about the problems that we keep for ourselves, right? Our minds talk to us through our bodies, sending us pain or some illnesses. So we're gonna wait for Olivia to join us now. And nice to see you, Augusta, too. Okay, let's wait for Olivia. So while we're waiting for Olivia, I can remind you what Tokitus is. So Tokitus is an online therapy platform. That means that you can order a therapy session being at your home, and you can have a therapist talk to you while you're sitting on your comfortable couch, which I think is really amazing because during these times when we can't see therapists in person, that can be really important. Oh, session, Augusta is asking how long will this session last. We think it's gonna be around 40 minutes, but sometimes we like to talk longer, but we will try to finish it in 40 minutes. Is there any people who were with us last week, or just Augusta? Okay, let's see where Olivia is. Okay. Oh, Emilia was here too. Hi, Emilia. Yes, so during this session, we will have some time for questions and answers. So feel free to ask questions if, when Olivia says something about psychosomatics and you feel like you're not sure if you understood what she said, you can always ask a question and Olivia is going to answer it. Because that's why we do those lives. For us to be able to understand psychotherapy and better, right? All the concepts that we're usually unfamiliar with. Okay, is Ulvia coming? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that you all have to wait so long, but it's gonna be worth it. Ulvia is really amazing. When she told me about this psychosomatics concept on our daily conversation, I was mind blown, and I really think it's worth listening to. Mm-hmm. Okay, I will try to find out what's going on. Yes, so Emilia asked me if I ever experienced any pain or illness that was caused by stress or anything. So, yeah, actually, when I feel stressed, I feel it in my belly, which is really weird for me. But if I'm like crying or I feel stressed or scared, I can feel that fear in my whole belly. And it kind of scares me because I'm like, is it raining my stomach now? So I try to avoid stressful situations. I mean, it's probably hard to avoid stressful situations, but try to control my reaction to those situations and talk myself into being calm about it and understanding that a lot of the times when we stressed about something, it's really not worth stressing about, right? Because actually, I heard a really interesting thing. So people say that, you know, if there is something that you stress about, you shouldn't stress about it more than for 5 minutes. Let yourself stress about it for 5 minutes and then go live your life. And Ulvi is here. And yeah. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I'm so sorry for being late. It's a time confusion now about the time difference and time change, but I'm here.
Yeah, we talk from different parts of the world. Actually, half the world away.
It's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry once again. Yes, but I'm here. Have you started already?
Yeah, we started a little bit. So, but I'm not familiar with the concept of psychosomatics, right? You were the one that told me about it, and I was mind blown. And I'm really excited to share it with other people. So, could we just start with you unfolding what psychosomatics is, just in general?
Yes, sure. So I'm very I add a bit of light. Yes. So I'm very interested about this concept myself, and back in the days I wrote my bachelor thesis, bachelor I got my bachelor degree with this topic, and the direction of the topic of mine was more oriented into psychosomatics in children, so child psychosomatic disorders and child psychosomatic symptoms, let's say. But today we're going to talk more about adults. However, the concept is very similar. It's a certain approach that concerns the interdependence of human beings between body and mind. So basically, if we translate psychosomatic from the Greek language, that would be psyche is a mind, is what is happening inside our head, is our, I don't know, you can say also the spiritual side. In some, in some books, some researchers, they would also call it a spiritual side. But also another side is our soma, and soma belongs more to the body aspect of what we are experiencing. And the first time this was published in a dictionary was actually in 1982. So it's a pretty fresh movement, let's say, of psychosomatics. However, I would also like to talk a little bit today about the background of the term and where this all coming from. I mean, let's say Hippocrates, Aristotle, and so on, all the philosophers, the founders of medicine in general, what they said to us long time ago. But if we put it like simply, easily, it's involvement of both parts, mind and body. And basically, in a more simplest way, it's when you go to the doctor, doctors do all the checkups, they check all the physical symptomatology of what you feel. And let's take as an example, you have a constant headache. Yes, so you have a constant pain, you are in pain, let's say, for a couple of months, and painkillers are not helping anymore. Then they do all the screens, the MRI, and medical doctors cannot find the source of the problem. And one of the suggestions would be that maybe that's in your mind, maybe that's a stress, maybe your emotions. And that's where resistance comes, because oftentimes people, they don't want to acknowledge, and it's very difficult to actually take it that something might be wrong with you mentally, or you might be mentally overwhelmed, and basically your body is sending certain information. Your mind is sending certain information through your body, and your body cannot resist anymore. That's why it takes a lot of time and reassurance from client side and from medical doctor's side. So people would search for more second opinions in order to actually believe and face with the fact that something might be emotionally triggering those bodily symptoms.
You know, we are used to solving physical problems physically, treating them physically. So, and as you said, it's a new concept, so not all people are familiar with it. Like, I kind of heard about it somewhere, but I wasn't sure if it's serious or not. Can I take it seriously or not? So would your suggestion be that if you can't find, you know, physical reasons for your problem, then you should go to therapy? At least try that way.
Yes, definitely. And that's what medical doctors would tell you. Try psychiatrists, try to talk to someone, try psychotherapy, especially in those countries where psychotherapy is a developed field.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as I mentioned, I wanted to bring up also words of thinkers and philosophers of the past. So Hippocrates would say it is more important to know what sort of person has a disease than what kind of disease that person has.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes, and it's like, it's long time ago. Even though the field of psychosomatics is quite new and fresh, Hippocrates already wrote about the fact that it is important to understand who is that person. So basically, holistic medicine and holistic approach is very important. And another, like Socrates, he would say that it is wrong to treat eyes without paying attention to the head. And it is wrong to treat head without paying attention to the body. And it's wrong to treat body without paying attention to the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you are experiencing physical symptoms which have an organic base, so which actually have a certain physical problem, I would still recommend you to contact with yourself emotionally, mentally. So psychotherapy in any case would be very beneficial to fight any kind of disorder and symptoms. But especially that happens through psychosomatic symptoms, because what is interesting with psychosomatics is that it can actually grow into what is called somatoform disorder. And somatoform disorder is an actual disorder. It's not a symptom anymore. It's not a headache that happens once in a while. It's an actual developed disorder, like, let's say, as we talked about headache, it might be a migraine. And migraine is not diagnosed because of the headaches once in a while. Migraine is might be an actual somatoform disorder if there is no reason for you to physically, I don't know, because of the blood pressure, because of, I don't know, tumor in the head or any other reasons. So that might happen from the stressors.
So you mentioned headache. What are other most common ways of body signaling us that there is something wrong, mind-wise, or like emotion or feeling-wise?
So first of all, I want to bring you a statistics that in 2008 there was a research that found that 16.6% of people worldwide suffer from psychosomatic disorders. Just to give you a certain overview, it was in 2008. I can just guess what is going on now, especially with all the pandemia and the fact that we are in general very much triggered emotionally, and those emotions can, find their way out through our bodies. But basically, as we said, headaches, but pain disorder is the most common chronic problem that happens to people like all over the world. So pain would be one of the most difficult psychosomatic symptoms, difficult to treat. But also interesting idea for you to think about is it's called a body dysmorphic disorder, and you will be surprised to know what that is a certain preoccupation or obsession with one of the body parts. And now with the rise of plastic surgery, something that like yesterday would be taken as a mental problem, because you suddenly become preoccupied with one part of your body and you want to change it. Because, I don't know, because it's not beautiful, it doesn't suit you, because you want to avoid something, because you want a reassurance, because you want to camouflage yourself kind of to change, I don't know, your cultural background or whatever. So this preoccupation could be also called a certain psychosomatic symptom. But now, because it got so much accepted culturally and in society, and became so popular, modern, and so on, we kind of forget about the fact that there might be an emotional background that influences as well.
And it sounds like an easy fix for me. We go to the doctor, we go to the doctor that can fix the way we look, and we feel like problem is solved, but it's just a quick fix and it's not a problem solved. If I'm not happy with how I look, and I'm like, let's say, not happy with my ears, when I fix my ears, because I have that emotional, I don't know what that emotional problem or emotional need of something, I will probably find another place that I don't like.
Most probably. But with ears, it's very interesting. Usually when they're like, if person thinks that the problem is with ears, that ears like pop out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it comes from childhood. And I'm sure if person is struggling or has a complex of ears or big ears, it comes from the childhood as well. So there should be a certain childhood memory of not being satisfied with your ears. Yeah? And when your ears are fixed, the memories of the other type of ears are still there. Okay, so the childhood memory of those big ears are still there. And if you start to like yourself the way you look in the mirror, you still have to fix your memories. Otherwise, they're going to influence your self-esteem, basically.
That's amazing. I just get surprised every time when I start thinking about how complex a person is, and how I feel like we concentrate on the surface a lot these days because, we don't really have much time to sit down and like go deeper into ourselves because we feel like we need to rush, work and reach some things. But there are so many things going on inside us, and if we would just like sit down in a silence, and a really interesting world would open us for us too. We don't need to travel to explore the world because there's a whole world inside us, and it really satisfies me to understand it. But I have another question. So, is there like the most common emotion that causes physical, let's say, pain? Because, for example, I was just telling listeners that when I feel stressed, I can feel like my stomach tight. It's just not a good feeling in my stomach. Like that's where I feel that my stress goes. So stress is the trigger that triggers my body to respond. Is there any other, most common triggers?
Yes, so there are two very powerful emotions that are triggering stress or are triggering different bodily symptoms. Those are anger and fear. And that is why you probably heard about panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Panic attacks are a pure representation of psychosomatic symptoms. So basically, you start to lose your breath, you might have, darkness in your eyes, or you start sweating. A lot of physical symptoms occur when a person is experiencing a panic attack. And panic attack is usually related to fear or anger, which is repressed and which is presented through this bodily expression through fear. And those are the emotions with which it's possible to work on them, of course, but it takes a long period of time. It's a certain history, as we have a question in here, can you fix your memories? You cannot change your memories, right? You cannot go back there and kind of put everything on the shelf and make it all nice and beautiful. But you can bring a certain attention and awareness towards those memories of your childhood experiences, let's say. And as you talked with Ali last time about the belief system. Belief system is oftentimes also created in our childhood and comes from our families. And belief system, it's not an emotion, as you asked the question, but for sure that's also one of the factors that influences psychosomatic beliefs. We can call it psychosomatic belief as well. Because I give you an example. Mom would always say, I don't know, put warm clothes when you go outside when it's cold. You should wear warm, you should wear a scarf and so on. And it gets into our belief system so deeply that next time when you're an adult, you go outside and you don't wear a scarf and suddenly you get a flu and you get sick and then you remember, oh my God, I was not wearing a scarf, I had to do that. It's a pure psychosomatic reaction due to our belief system, which was created back in the childhood.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's
I
how it
actually,
works.
uh, so I live in America now, but I'm from Lithuania. And in Lithuania, we have a lot of many months when it's cold. And I don't know, Lithuanian parents are really strict about kids not going outside if they're not dressed properly. It's like a cultural thing. And I came to US and I see like kids, it's like snow is outside and kids just like run out without shoes, and they just like run to the mailbox to check the mail without shoes during the winter. And it's really stuck in my head. I'm like, they're gonna get sick, what are they doing? you know so I can
That's
really relate with that. But I want to stop around the fear and anger. So fear and anger are the things that we should, emotions that we should pay most attention to, right? Talking about psychosomatics, like if I understand that there is something going on and I want to fix it from the root, so fear and anger is something I have to be looking for.
fear and anger are the ones that might bring you discomfort because both of them can be oriented on your own self, and if they're not brought on the level of awareness, it's very difficult to understand oftentimes what is going on with your stomach or why you have a sore throat oftentimes. And there was one philosopher and also psychotherapist back then, but let's call him philosopher. His name was Grodek. He would say that we actually have such a strong belief system that we tend to symbolize, that's his words, symbolize what we feel, meaning that, for example, there is a, like, we choose a certain organ that will suffer the most in case we cannot, I give you an example, we cannot swallow the reality. Okay, we cannot swallow what is going on in front of us, and we kind of repress this anger or fear. It can be also sadness, but most of the times I would say that anger and fear, they influence very strongly. So in case you cannot swallow your reality, you tend to have sore throat oftentimes because you cannot process is something different. You cannot swallow that food that you take from outside, not the actual food but more emotional food. Another thing would be stomach pain. And he would say that stomach pain is a certain representation of the digestion difficulty of what you intake. Again, so it gets into your stomach and you cannot digest the reality. With sore throat, sometimes it's as well the idea of not being able to say. So it's like something is stuck in your throat and you cannot let it out. And the moment you let it out emotionally, okay, it's not like actually something is stuck in your throat. But if you learn to let it out, if you learn to talk about your emotions and probable anger or fear, then also the tension that is around your throat will decrease.
I think I have chosen stomach and head. My belief system works the way that my stomach hurts and my head hurts. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's stress. It's caused by. So it's interesting to understand that even that is, it doesn't have to be true. It's what I chose to do with it. But can we talk about relationships too? Because I really like talking about relationships. I just feel like, they're one of the most important things in our lives. I believe that you can be the most successful, and amazing things can happen in your life, but if you come back home and you have a bad relationship back home, your life is not going to be satisfying, and you won't care about the good things you've done. So you mentioned when we talked in private, and I thought it's really interesting. We have that saying, and it's kind of like an ongoing joke that, oh, my head is hurting tonight. And there are some women whose heads hurt every night. And you said that that can be a psychosomatic thing too. Maybe you could comment on it a little bit.
Yes, but first I have a question for you. Do you think that the relationship with others can be good when the relationship with yourself is not satisfying?
No, not at all. In my personal experience, I made a good relationship with myself first. But that was the mistake I made. When I made an amazing relationship with me, just being by myself, because I traveled a lot being alone. I was like, oh, I'm amazing now. I can be in the relationships now. But what I noticed is that when you are in a close relationship, that relationship gives you space to explore yourself more. There are parts of me I would have never found if I didn't have a husband. I would have just never went there. So now being in a marriage, I feel like I still have to explore myself through the relationship with other.
So that's how it works in therapy. In therapy, you start with yourself, with your own relationship, with the connection and memories of yourself and your fantasies in childhood and how you grew into an adult. And then you start to explore your actual relationships with your partner. That's the idea behind, to process your emotions and memories of the past and then bring them to your actual today or also future. And with this idea of headache, the funny thing, she has a headache, so there's not going to be sex or any hugging, kissing. As I mentioned, with psychosomatic and somatoform disorders, if one of the partners is not satisfied with the relationship and is repressing this feeling and not being able to even admit for yourself that maybe the relationship with yourself is not so good, and as well it influences the relationship with your partner, or you are not satisfied with the partner, but there are things that you don't want to lose, that's why you still stay in this relationship, it can cause the actual disorder without any physical reasons for that disorder. So basically, person is healthy, but the headache is there, but the actual headache, not just a played kind of scene that you have a headache. You can play this out for a couple of times. You can play this out for months. But then the scary part is that it might lead to an actual headache, and then the way back is much tougher than it was before. Okay, so it's important to catch yourself on that moment in your relationships when your body is telling you something, so listen to it, because it actually has so much information. The same with, painful experiences in sexual intercourse. Also, if there is no physical reason for those experiences, then very big chance is that there are also somatic background or somatic reasons for that pain. which can be explored through psychotherapy.
So,
Because there might be some fantasies, I'm sorry, surrounding sex in general, or fear of pain, let's say, that makes our muscles get into tension and not letting us to calm down and relax and enjoy the process.
so let's say, someone has their throat hurts, or they have a headache, and they kind of can grab on where it comes from. Is it something that person can deal with by themselves? I just understand where it comes from, and I just acknowledge it, and then it goes away? Or is there a longer, what is the journey? If I can grasp what's going on, how do I get out of it?
Reflection, as much reflection as possible, connection with your body, knowing that it's not about being hypochondriac, this thing that you're always alert that something might be wrong with your body, that you have different symptoms, that you need to do checkups, and I don't know, having your blood tested every single month just to make sure that your machine is safe and functioning. No, I'm not talking about this. I'm more talking about those strong impulses that your body is sending you. So in case you have a sore throat every month, or you have muscle pain, back pain, shoulder pain, think about what you are actually carrying. Maybe you are carrying too much now. Maybe this backpack is becoming really heavy. And you can start doing this work by yourself. I'm not saying that it's not possible at all. No, you can start thinking and analyzing the reality. But oftentimes, psychotherapy helps to look from the other perspective, because that person who you are meeting in the office doesn't really know the whole story, which is good, because psychotherapists can ask you a question from a different angle, or to show you that, okay, now you stand here, try to go to another side, still carrying this backpack, how it feels to you. Okay, so playing this game of the mental game of different realities, and by that you will grow a certain confidence in either letting some things go and still feel safe. If we take an example with carrying the backpack, it oftentimes happens with people who are carrying a lot of responsibilities, that they tend to suffer from the back pain or shoulder pain due to the profession, family responsibilities, businesses, people around, like workers, and this responsibility, as you know, in some languages, there are also metaphors, which are very powerful, and oftentimes metaphors can be very psychosomatic and somatic, related to the culture. But those metaphors of putting things on your shoulders or carrying things on your shoulders. Yeah, so it's a symptom of those who are taking a lot of responsibility in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And to treat it, as you asked, to treat it, it's a good question. So you can start with yourself, but oftentimes the professional who works with psychosomatics can really assist in this case to direct you.
And I like the idea of having someone to help you look at it from different angle, because I myself, I read a lot, and I reflect a lot on what's going on. But then sometimes I'm like, maybe the reality, and it's probably true, the reality I create for myself, and the summaries that I come with are just my perspective, and then sometimes I like get scared of living in a perspective that is not real. And it's nice to have other people to tell you, oh, look at this way, or from this angle. That way you can like, I just feel like we create our own reality and we live in it, and it's healthy, even though I fear sometimes for someone to come and destroy my reality, because it's a safe place for me. It's kind of scary to have someone and be like, someone to tell you, no, that's not how life has to be.
Yes, psychotherapy is not about telling you how it has to be or not. And I don't see anything bad about creating your own reality and being like, I don't know, positive thinker, trying to repress negative emotions and thoughts, as long as it is not influencing negatively, right? As long as you are not developing any kind of symptoms, like physical symptoms, as we are talking today, that because of those repressed emotions that you want to live in this magic castle, but everything around you like is ruined. It's, of course, it's an exaggeration, but if you created this beautiful mindset for yourself, then stick to it, as long as it's not disturbing you, as long as it makes you happy and feel good, as long as it supports your relationships. But what I learned, also from my clients, and sometimes, this magic world can lead to some kind of reactions. Let's say, I give you a tough example from the relationships. For example, lady cannot get pregnant. It feels like everything is fine. She created a positive, surrounding for herself, kind of no strong repressed emotions, in love with her partner, and then suddenly something like this happens. And after checkups, there are no reasons for, like, doctors are saying that they don't see any actual bodily symptom that might cause the fact that she cannot get pregnant. Then, if you agree with the fact that there might be an emotional background to this, you might happen to find yourself in psychotherapist office. And then you start to look from the different angles. What is this magic world that you're living in? Or what is this beautiful fairy tale? And how is it actually your world, or is it created as a defense mechanism in order to save yourself from, I don't know, from past experiences, from different belief systems? Like, in the marriage, you should be very much loved and only positive emotions, otherwise it's never gonna work. Okay, and it makes your body get into such an unconsciously in such a tension that you cannot relax and let yourself, get pregnant, for example.
And we got a question, so I think we could discuss this as a last question. So Emilia is asking about people who are always looking for a disease for themselves, or they are constantly sick. Can that just be totally psychosomatic?
Tricky one, because, for example, you are looking for something. If you're looking for something, there's a big chance you're gonna find that. Something that you're looking for, and then there's a click, it's a perfect match. You were looking and you got it. Yeah. And it might bring us even to a more hypochondriac state of being, this why I'm saying hypochondriac, because someone who is always looking for a disease is actually being hypochondriac. And it can get to this term of hypochondriasis, as I said, like a disorder, but it can be on a very also, a basic form, of living, of performing, of always looking for something and being, alert, as I said. So it can be psychosomatic, but oftentimes it also has a history. That once there was a click, there was like a perfect match, that you were looking, you got it, you got the answer, and then you know that probably it's going to be the same again. And that's how we create a belief system.
That perfect clip can happen if you feel some symptoms and you open Google. Most of the times the click is gonna happen that you have cancer or something, deadly.
Yes, or you have a background story, let's say family story of family genetics or family health problems, or you have a family member who passed away at a certain period of life due to those, like some certain symptoms, and then when you reach that age you might get really stressed about your own existence. So it's a very existential question, and it pushes us towards one of our fears, and that's the fear of death. Yeah. So it makes us fantasize, and the reason for this overthinking might be from somewhere. And it's important to bring that on the surface and analyze this.
Thank you a lot, Olivia. It's really nice to remind ourselves that we are really complex and everything is connected, and that we shouldn't just look for surface reasons for anything that happens in our lives. Because I believe that only by digging deeper, problems can be actually truly solved and not continue chasing us in our lives. And thank you guys for joining tonight. We will have another Tokitus Therapist Couch live session next week, Wednesday, 4 GMT. And we will update you on our social media on what topic it is going to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope it was helpful.
It really was.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.